Hi guys, welcome to the effects of different forms of selection on evolution. So in terms of the specification, we will be looking at the effects of stabilizing, directional, and disruptive selection. So how does it all start? So there is a variation in phenotypes within the population, and this is because there are different environmental factors. But the same genes will have different forms called alleles. So what is the primary source of genetic variation? Then it's the mutation, which obviously takes place in the S phase of the interphase where the DNA is replicated. But we also got the random fertilization of the gametes. We also got the variation in meiosis. So we're talking here about the crossing over, independent segregation. So organisms obviously are going to overproduce offspring, okay, and the selection pressure will act on them. So there could be predation, could be disease, or could be competition. So selection pressures for the means to survive result in different survival and reproduction, for example in different flowering times, and this is the natural selection. So the organisms with the phenotype providing the selective advantage, so they are better advanced, they are likely to survive and reproduce and produce fertile offspring. So what will happen? They will pass on their favorite alleles to the next generation. So obviously they will be more able to survive and reproduce to pass on their alleles. So this affects the allele frequencies within the population. And what happens to the frequency of the beneficial alleles from generation to generation then? It's going to, of course, increase. Okay, so environmental factors, of course, affect the selection as well. They create variation within a population, and it's an agent for the constancy or agent for change due to selection pressures. So the selection then, so the effect, the allele frequency will be different, okay? It's divided into three types. So we've got stabilizing, directional, and disruptive selection. So if you're looking at those graphs here, starting with the original population, we've got three different types. What's the difference between those graphs, okay? It's the way the advantage alleles has been selected. So in directional selection, there will be movement towards one of the extremes. In disruptive, they're going to select both of the extremes, and in stabilizing, they're going to select the mean and evaluate the extreme values. So stabilizing selection, as we said, preserves the average phenotype. So favors average individuals, selects against extreme phenotypes, occurs when environmental conditions are stable, and extremes are never the ones that we're going to favorize in this selection. And then we'll also reduce the range of the phenotypes, because obviously the mean, okay, is the one that we're going to select to be passed on to the next generations. So next, it's the directional direction. So they're going to favorize the phenotypes in one direction from the mean. So it could be to the right or could be to the left. And it's a selection only of the one extreme in response to selection pressures of environmental change. Disruptive selection then favorize the individuals with extreme phenotypes, as we can see on the diagrams. So it's selection against the mean. So environment going to favor more than one phenotype, but not the mean. And here we've got the question. So you can pause the video now, and you need to explain how resistance to an antibiotic could become widespread in a bacterial population following a gene mutation, conferring resistance in just one bacterium, for 5 marks. So that's your model answer. So a frequent use of the antibiotic creates selection pressure. Okay, other words, antibiotic kills bacteria. So bacteria with mutation, okay, has that selective advantage over others. So the ones with the mutation will then survive and reproduce and pass on the advantage alleles to the next generations. So the frequency of this advantage allele will increase in the next generations. Okay, and the frequency of resistant types increases in the generations. So, what is a gene pool? Another definition that you need to know: all of the alleles in the population. And using the information provided here, you need to suggest how two species of palm tree arose by sympatric speciation. So it's slightly different topic. I would recommend you watch that speciation video. But what we need to do here, you need to see the pattern. Okay, how can you combine the speciation and selection together? So that will occur in the same habitat. The mutations cause different flowering times, so there is the isolation, and different alleles will be passed on. And here, anytime we're talking about this speciation, will be the disruptive selection. So eventually there will be different species that they cannot interbreed and produce fertile offspring. So this is to show you how you can join two topics together. And we've got a few more questions. So first question is, explain your answer. Can you conclude that the insect pest resistant to Bt toxin were of the same species? Okay, so no, because the bar graph only shows number of species but not the name of the species. Okay, as you can see here. Excuse me. And here we need to explain the answer, saying that one farmer stated that the increase in the use of Bt crop plants had caused a mutation. Right, so no, because mutations are random, only the rate of mutation is affected by environment. Different species do not interbreed, so mutation cannot be passed on. And what was a time like between the introductions of Bt crops and the appearance of the first insect? So in here, could be one initially, because few insects with the favorite allele were present. Individuals will have that mutation, and will take many generations for the alleles to become the most common in that population. So that's everything for this topic. See you later.